Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new, and welcome back if you've been here before. We are currently in exams season, so it's been a bit full on. So I might just be posting every fortnight just for this crazy busy time. So sorry that I missed you guys last week. It's great to be back. It's great to be here. And today, kind of following off last week's talk on autism, today I'm talking about ADHD. And there is, as some of you may know, a great debate in ADHD science. So a lot of theorists and scientists do believe opposing beliefs on ADHD, and it's just been so interesting reading about it and learning about like the different beliefs that they have. Like, so academic debates are like filled with roast. Like they're always like teasing each other in like actual like articles, and it's hilarious. Like it's just so funny to me. Like they said, they use words like shoddy science, like like these are professional academics. And it's like intelligent, incredibly intelligent people just roasting each other back and forth through like journal articles. It's hilarious. But yeah, so let's get into it. Welcome back. This is mainly the talk between Dr. David Foreman and Dr. Sammy Timimi. Oh, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. It's been a great read. So let's get into it. As you can see, I'll have my script today, so I will be reading from it a bit more than when I just talk because I need to stay on track for this. This is a really interesting one, so I hope you stay with me on it. And so in 2018, two leading psychiatrists, like I mentioned, Dr. David Foreman and Dr. Sam Timimi. I'm sorry, it's such a funny name. They faced up in an academic debate, and their opposing papers were published side by side, which is the one I read. It's hilarious. I'll link it below if you guys are curious. Just send me a message. And so today we're going to go to unpack the debate and what each side argued and the evidence that they use and what it means for how we think about ADHD. So let's start with who they are. David Foreman is a consultant child and adolescent psychiatrist and a researcher at the Institute of Psychiatry, Psychology and Neuroscience at King's College London. So very fancy. Oh, that's so funny. I didn't even know this, but I definitely read his paper in a posh voice. Like, he just sounds so. I read it in the exact like London kind of voice. And his stance, David Foreman's is pro diagnosis. So he believes that ADHD is a legitimate medical condition supported by genetics, neurobiological, and clinical evidence. While Sammy Minmi, on the other hand, is a child psychiatrist known for his critical psychiatry perspective. Critical psychiatry perspective. I haven't heard of this one, but it's so interesting. Um, it doesn't say where he's from because I read his like he's a complete opposite of David Foreman. Like it's completely different tone, a lot more direct, and yeah, it was hilarious. Hilarious. He challenged traditional diagnostic systems and argued that ADHD is a cultural construct. So he does not believe in ADHD. It's not biological disease. So essentially, we have two questions. Is ADHD a fact of nature or a fact of culture? So the argument used to be nature versus nurture, but now scientists already argue that it's a combination of nature versus nurture. So there's no more versus, it's nature and nurture now. So nature with nurture. Yeah, something like that. But this argument is saying, is it nature or facts of culture? And number two is, does diagnosis actually help people that it claims to? Alright, so let's begin with Foreman's debate. Foreman's paper is called Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, Progress and Controversy in Diagnosis and Treatment. He started by saying, look, knowledge about ADHD is rapidly accumulating. So over the past few decades, research in genetics, brain imaging pharmacology has transformed how we understand the disorder, and he notes that ADHD shows a heritability of around 70 to 80%. So a lot of it is genetics, meaning that most of the variation between people is examined and explained by genetics. He also highlights how neuroimaging studies, which is like brain scans, show how consistent differences in brain networks, especially the right lateralized ventral attention network and the frontal striatal circuits. So these are all really neurosciencey words, and it's just basically saying that you can see it in the brain when you're looking at like actual images of inside our brain, that there are circuits that involves in attention are inhibited. So that's he's saying that there's actually a physical imaging of what's been seen in our brain in the rewarding process. And these biological findings, pharmacists disprove the disprove the idea that ADHD is merely a social construct and it's not made up, it's measurable, observable, and biological based. Seems legit, right? Like, how can you even argue with that? It's just all the evidence is there. And Foreman also defends the use of medication. He references studies like multimodal treatment study of psychology of ADHD, which found that strong evidence for the effectiveness of stimulant medications such as I can never say these long words, methylphenidate. Yes, methylphenidate, which is, I thought it was something else, but that's apparently the main medication for ADHD. And he points out that an average effect size of symptoms reduced around 0.8, which translates roughly to 80% improvement. Which is, sorry, that's a bit loud for the microphone. In classroom behaviors and focus, and one of the most reliable results in child psychiatry. Like, this is insane. I mean, 80%. Like, how can you argue with 80%? That's crazy. And so he acknowledges that some critics accuse medication of being a form of social control, a way to manage child's behavior to fit classroom norms. But he argues that the data doesn't support that narrative. Instead, medication improves attention, reduces impulsivity, and helps children function better at school and home. He also critiques quality of life research, noting that when ADHD symptoms are managed, families report better relationships and emotional well-being, not worse. So, in short, this is Foreman's case, and it's so like top tier. Like, I mean, the way he even like formulated his whole paper, it's like, how can you even argue with this? This is his case. ADHD is measurable from biological roots. The diagnosis is critically useful. Medication, when used correctly, is safe and effective. And the real challenge is personalization, treatment to the individual, and not dismissing the diagnosis altogether. That's it. Moving over to Sam Timimi's argument is that this is his title, the Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, a critique of the concept. Love Timmy. Timmy begins by saying something very bold. So bold. ADHD is a fact of culture rather than a fact of nature. He argues that ADHD fails to both the scientific test and the clinical test. So for a concept to be scientifically useful, it should help us discover causes, but ADHD hasn't led to any definitive biological explanation. For a concept to be clinically useful, it should help improve outcomes because instead of decades of diagnosis, let's read that again. For a concept to be useful, it should help improve outcomes, but decades of diagnosis haven't shown any clear long-term benefits. Fair? Timimi believes that ADHD is a descriptive variable and is not an explanation. So this is a very interesting point. So he compares to say that this child's inattentive and impulsive, and they're claiming that those behaviors are caused by ADHD. This is circular reasoning, according to Timimi. And this is what philosophers call tautology. He also critiques the twin studies, saying that they rest faultily on equal environment assumptions, which means that twins, he just believes that twins do not share the same environment across the board, especially when it comes to monozygotic versus dizygotic twins, which is basically fraternal. What's the other one? Fraternal and not fraternal twins. I forgot what they're called. But monozygotic is when they're exactly the same. Dizygotic is when they're different. And there's a difference in how people treat them. Monozygotic twins are known to be treated just more similarly than dizygotic twins. But yeah, so basically saying that he points out that ADHD had a group load on average and lower IQ scores when the researchers controlled for that. The genetic link disappeared, so they didn't even consider that IQ was in the picture. So that he's critiquing the way that the researchers is reading this and being biased and kind of just nitpicking whatever they pick. So maybe that's why Foreman's paper was so polished. Maybe. So according to Tamimi, there was no single gene brain no single gene brain abnormality or biological marker that defines ADHD. And so here comes his strongest critique: medication. Timmy doesn't deny that stimulants reduce symptoms in the short term, but he says that it's not the same as improving long-term outcomes. He critiques that the study's 3-year follow-up, which found that the initial improvement medication groups no longer had better results than behavioral therapy. So behavior treatment versus medical treatment was basically the same, like a 3-year follow-up. And in fact, children who stayed on medication longer were more likely to show height suppression, weight loss, and higher rates of delinquency. He also notes that stimulants prescriptions have skyrocketed worldwide, and he trends a trend he links to what he calls the McDonaldization of children's mental health. McDonaldization of children's mental health. Oh man, this is poetry. So in other words, quick standardized solutions for complex emotional and social problems. Tamimi argues that instead of focusing on diagnosis and drugs, we should focus on relationships, education, and cultural expectations. He says that what we call ADHD might be a mismatch between children's natural energy and the rigid demands of what modern schooling. I kind of like him. I kind of like him a lot. But of course, there was a rebuttal. Foreman rebutted, saying that in medicine, diagnosis don't always require a cause. For example, fever of unknown origin or complex regional pain syndrome. So while Minnie's saying that, we can only diagnose if it's a cause, so he kind of dismisses mental health in a lot of sense, which it can be a bit tricky. But Foreman's saying that, diagnoses like psychology diagnoses are just as valid as physical diagnoses, which I believe is also very fair. But he also accused Timimi of confusing correlations with causations by assuming that higher medication use causes delinquency when it might simply reflect that more severe cases needed more medication. In closing his statement, Foreman said something very powerful. I would rather consider ADHD an ailment or with which I contend than an ailment not to be treated. And he's reflecting on like ancient Egyptian times where people did do controlled studies, believe it or not. And so Tamimi's responded to that by saying Foreman relied on rhetoric over evidence, that he was defending psychiatry's status quo instead of genuinely questioning its assumptions. He maintained that until we have a consistent biological marker or clear long-term benefit, ADHD remains a socially convenient myth. Mic drop. Mic drop. So who's right? Who is right? Well, both and neither. Foreman, this is where it kind of just gives us an opinion of who is right. But I probably won't read the opinion. But I do agree that, that some is right, some aspects is right, and some aspects isn't. And I'll leave you to decide. Hilarious nonetheless. But let's wrap it up here. That's the ADHD debate, guys. Biology versus culture, medication versus meaning, and a reminder that mental health isn't just chemistry or choice, it can be both. So if you found this helpful, please like and subscribe, and let me know what you think, because I really like these topics. As you can see, some topics they're just a bit more drag on for others, but I love these topics. Love to hear your thoughts if you managed to watch this far, which I'm grateful. Have a great day. Bye, guys.